everybody, and welcome to News with a View. I'm your host, Monica Crowley. Thank you so much for joining us today, as always. And as you guys know, because you're loyal viewers to the Strategy Room, we always love to hear from you. So please shoot us an email. There it is, strategyroom@foxnews.com, strategyroom@foxnews.com. And if something catches your ear here about what we're talking about, you can send us an email on that, or if there's something else that is just driving you crazy, you can shoot us an email about that too. All right, let me introduce the panel. Guys, do I need to take a break after I do that?
Yep.
Okay. First, let me introduce the panel. To my right, Mark Levine, constitutional lawyer. Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Always
to his right, literally to his right, and ideologically to his right, Liz Trotta.
Far to my left.
Liz Trotta, our good friend. She's a former CBS and NBC News correspondent. Welcome back, Liz. To her right, Scott Blakeman. Welcome back, Scott.
Thank you, Monica. I've launched my new website, liberalcomedian.com, as I'm a political comedian and
Great.
From the left. So
I have it right here, liberalcomedian.com.
There you go. It's all there.
We will check it out.
Great.
Welcome back, Scott.
Thank you, Monica.
And to his right, also welcome back, Chris Metzler. He is the Associate Dean of the School of Continuing Studies at Georgetown. Welcome back to you too. Okay, we have a lot of really great stuff, a lot of very hot topics to talk about today. We're going to hit this quick break and come back. Sit tight. Knicks actually won, which is major, okay? Because for those of us in New York who happen to follow the NBA, the Knicks have been like in the basement, horrible. Most of the season has been like watching high school basketball. Butler was better than the Knicks the other night, way better. So we went and they were playing the Boston Celtics, great game, sold out at Madison Square Garden, and sitting right in front of me is John McEnroe. McEnroe comes in, and I was always a huge fan of McEnroe. I used to love to watch him play when I was growing up. So he kind of turns to me and he recognized me and he smiled and he waved. I waved back. So I'm kind of watching him during the course of the game, and McEnroe was so McEnroe because he started yelling at the refs.
Oh, that's great.
He's in the front row seat. I'm in the second row. And he starts like pointing to one of the refs, and he's like, "Can't believe you called a foul on that guy." And the ref kind of didn't hear because the crowd was so loud. And he turned around and he saw that it was John McEnroe, so he kind of lit up, and he's like, "Oh, Mr. McEnroe, it's great to meet you." And the ref comes over, and McEnroe lays into him. That was no foul. And I said, you know, the John McEnroe brand is 100% pure.
That's good.
That the guy you saw, the hothead, the total hothead you saw on the court was actually him.
Except that he has a commercial doing exactly that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot be
Pure.
serious.
That's right.
I expected to hear that out of him, too.
Pure
You
is
cannot
not
be
right.
serious.
Now, Monica, I
Yeah.
must salute you because you have very, very good seats. That must have been the second
yes,
row. I
yeah,
usually
they
sit
were
up in the
watching.
rafters where the only thing you hear is the vendors.
Well, you're a
So,
liberal, and that's where you belong.
Oh. Well, I'm happy to
we're off to
report.
a happy
happy to
start.
report.
Liz a little more, then she can sit up in the seats with you.
Okay, we'll work on
I'm
that.
happy to report in a nonpartisan way that the Knicks did beat the Celtics last night, 104-101. It was a very high-scoring game, so it was great to be there. Okay, guys, let's kick this off with this story I saw. RedState.com had the story, but it's being reported elsewhere, that the head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Chris Van Hollen, has now indicated in a speech and now in writing that he is going to argue for Democrats running for Congress, running for re-election, or running to be elected this November, that they run against President George W. Bush. And he is trying to sell this to Democratic candidates by saying, well, gosh, you know, it worked for us 2 years ago, and I think the American people will still buy a campaign under the banner of reform and change. And he is advising them, and I saw a story a couple of weeks ago in the Washington Post that said that top Obama advisor David Plouffe, who has been brought back into the White House to sort of organize and orchestrate these midterm elections for the Democrats, that he is also advising Democrats to run against George W. Bush.
Well, how much sense does
Now,
it make to have them
I
do
ask you.
what the Democrats are already doing?
I ask you to make it as a formal strategy for the Democrats to run against George Bush, who has not been president now for a good long time. He's off running,
You mean for the
clearing his
Republicans, don't you?
No, for the Democrats are running against Bush. This is the strategy.
Okay.
That they're advising Democratic candidates across the board to run against Bush, to invoke Bush at every turn. Do you think that is a wise strategy? Let's turn to Mark first, because he's over there on the left. Is this a smart strategy? And is this the only thing they've got?
I think it's important for the American people to remember there's a choice here. It's very easy to complain about the government. Things aren't perfect. But you got to remember there's a choice here. It's not a choice between Obama and perfection. It's a choice between Obama and, yes, Republicans, Bush, those same policies. We have to remember, we did have a president who violated the Constitution regularly. We did have a president who spent out the wazoo, massive deficits.
Oh, are you describing the current president? Because I could put him in that category.
I'm describing what was the situation when Obama got there.
Wait,
people think he can fix it.
He's been president now for 15 months.
Oh, no, 15 months. And he hasn't solved all the nation's problems?
Wait, when does he own his presidency?
When
does he own the problems in this country? And when are you guys going to give up the Bush ghost? Because it's really getting old and pathetic.
You know, Franklin Delano Roosevelt did not solve all of Herbert Hoover's problems in 15 months.
So now we're going back to 1929.
I'll tell you why. Because we're in the biggest depression since the Great Depression. It is because of Republicans and Bush's policies. And it takes more than 15 months to fix all of the Bush problems. So we have to remind people. To me, it's kind of like this, Monica.
Mark, I love you, but you're off the rails
No,
here.
it's kind of like this. You know, let's say you've got somebody and they have bashed a beehive and all the bees are out there. And you say, I'm firing that guy. I'm going to hire somebody else to take care of my garden. And he's going around, he's trying to worry about it. And you're like, well, he hasn't gotten rid of all the bees in 2 days. I'm going to hire back the person who smashed the beehive. We have to understand that if you go back to Republican policies.
If you hired the gardener and he couldn't contain the bees.
In 3 days, you don't want to go back to the guy that smashed the beehive.
Would you expect that gardener to blame the gardener who came before him?
Of course. He smashed the beehive.
Let's turn to you, dear. Go ahead.
I guess I'm confused, but the Democrats seem to be on a collision course. Isn't this what Obama's been doing since he was elected? Still running against George Bush? I mean, and now does this imply that they're going to be running against Obama? I don't think so. I still think they're harking back to George Bush. This is nuts.
Is this all they have? Scott.
No, well, first of all, I'm afraid of bees, so that analogy scares me. No, first of all, I think that I'm not in favor of invoking Bush's name, but certainly, as Mark says, I would rather run on what's gone on this last year, which is a huge improvement from where we were, which is a legitimate level of discourse. I mean, the way we handled a potential economic meltdown, where we are now, much better. So that's an important thing. The health care, to me and to Mark, I think it's a historic breakthrough. So I'd rather see Democrats say, look, we're doing a lot of good things here, and to speak out to me against the hysteria that's being drawn up by Republicans that really, to me, is very un-American.
So if let's say you have a point, if the Democrats are so proud of what they have accomplished over the last year plus, why don't they just run on that? Why do they have to invoke, the specter of Bush? If they're so proud of what they have done here over the last year plus, why do they have to go back to Bush?
As I said, I wouldn't use his name, but you can have a basis of comparison. Like what Obama's doing now with the nuclear situation. That's a bold step to try to reduce the number of nuclear weapons. He's having a summit next week, bringing like 50 world leaders together, the most ever since the UN was founded. That's a good thing. So that's a comparison, and also where we were. But not obviously, I don't think we should run against Bush. He's not there. He's living a nice private life. I wish him well. But certainly can run against the policies that have been changed since Obama took office.
No, the party, you don't wish him well, nor does any Democrat. That's all you
I do. I'm a nice Jewish boy from Brooklyn. We wish everybody well.
The Bush administration to the Obama administration.
This is absolute
because
baloney.
you can't compare Obama administration to perfection. That's not fair.
Okay,
do you want Republican policies or Democratic policies?
How about comparing the Obama administration to the Obama administration? If you guys, and that's exactly it. So run on what you've accomplished. This kind of Bush as the boogeyman thing is really just kind of irritating.
Let me give you an example, all right? There's a financial regulation bill to fix a lot of the huge mess that caused this almost Great Depression under George Bush. Now, the House Democrats have passed a very strong regulation bill. The Republicans so far are being the party of no. They're against any regulation. At that point,
that's not true.
What you can do is you can say...
I can't let that go, Mark. You can't make those kind of sweeping statements that are flat out untrue.
Maybe they'll come around. I hope they will. But at the moment, they haven't. So you can say Obama hasn't achieved financial regulation, but the reason he hasn't is because Republicans prefer the current system, letting big banks gamble with billions of our taxpayer dollars rather than regulation. You have to compare back to the past.
Do you want to take apart Mark or should I?
Go ahead. Just the opposite is true. I love your propensity to take something that is completely purple and and turn it into black. I mean, really, what are we talking about?
I'm talking about
a specific. You can't get away. Wait,
you're denying the financial regulation?
Mark,
finished.
you've spoken.
You had your say, and you're breaking my eardrum while doing it.
Go ahead,
You can't make a statement like that. If anything, every editorial being written, even by the left, is calling for more regulation. When are we going to stop these guys on Wall Street?
But that's not what the right wants. That's what the left wants.
Obama promised it, and it's never ever happen.
Why hasn't it happened?
He hasn't delivered
tell you
your
why.
Why hasn't it been
wishes.
delivered? Because Republicans are against it.
Okay, guys.
The House Democrats voted for it.
You run the Treasury, you run
Okay,
the
guys.
Justice
Hang
Department,
on.
We need
you run
laws.
both
Hang
houses
on, Mark.
of Congress.
Mark, okay.
We
I
need
will tell
laws.
you why the
This is
regulatory bill has not made it through the Senate, because